Hello again, welcome to PaintersBlock. I'm your host, Anthony Ryan, and today we will be covering infected flesh and how I take this on with my Nurgle Blight Kings. I do apologize for the long delay. I've had some recent deaths with my pets and my family, so it's been kind of a hard month. The Las Vegas Open was great. We did have to disqualify just because my teammate got sick, but out of the games we did get to play, it was a lot of fun. We got to play against the 2 times grand champions of the duos, so they kicked our butt, but we did get to learn a lot, and that was a ton of fun. So here you can see that we're going to be using our Chaos Black primer on our model, and then using that to start off, and then we're going to be using Barbarian Flesh, Contrast Guilliman Flesh, a Flayed One Flesh, a Crusted Sore will be next, and then a Blood for the Blood Gods. And that's what we're going to be using just to create that infected flesh that you saw on the painted model previously. Thank you so much, and I'm so sorry again for the long delay. Now here is our Barbarian Flesh. It comes from the Armor Painter set. It's a really nice base. I find it warm. I'm using the #1 flat edge brush from my brush set. I'll put a link in the description below. And here you're just going to apply as evenly as you can to pretty much the whole model and everywhere that there's skin. So on this model there tends to be a lot of skin, so I'm just using a bigger, flatter brush to try to get more work done. And nonetheless, you're probably going to have to do 2 coats. I'm going to be doing 2 coats here. And then after you do the 2 coats, you can do a third if you really want to get all of that super thin, like evenness of the flesh. Otherwise, though, we're going to use the Guilliman flesh and kind of go into our highlights, and that should cover up any little bits here and there that we miss. But here we go. I'm just going to go around and just show you how I use a flat tip brush to get through and get most of my bulk of my work done, because this is really the biggest portion of the work for us when we're doing the infected flesh on something so large. Like with my Great Unclean one, it took me hours and hours because of how big he is, and I did him all this type of flesh, and it looks really nice, really gross, really smelly looking. And if you like it, please leave a like and maybe follow us here on YouTube and maybe on Instagram, and hit that notification bell. I'm going to be posting more often. I have the next 12 weeks lined up, and I'm going to be posting 2 times a week just to keep it more regular and try to up my game and bring you some better content. I'm going to be getting a new intro and just trying to improve the overall quality of the channel for you guys. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the videos to come. Now, just to go in a little bit of detail on why I'm using Barbarian Flesh as the undertone, it just leaves a really nice warm tone that I want to make look extra warm. Like when you're sick, you have this feverish, like warm pustule boils going on, and I just really want them to look like there's something wrong from the inside. And a lot of people tend to go with cool tones because it makes you look more dead, but I wanted to look a little bit warmer because when you're sick, you're actually alive. The whole point of being sick is that it's trying to keep you alive and make you feel worse, which is kind of nurgly. So that's my take on it, at least. And here's Guilliman Flesh. Now this contrast wash is pretty much staple for most people at Games Workshop. I'm sure you've heard of it, but if you haven't, it's a great wash for just most warm flesh tones. And here I've watered it down 50-50 with my water. And yeah, I do have, there is like a mixing agent to actually thin your paints. I actually do like that, but I couldn't find it. I just moved a lot of stuff around for the tournament, so this is just a little water mix, which is totally fine, especially with the Guilliman Flesh Wash. I generally know how to mix that one anyway, because of how long I've used it without a thinning agent. But if you do want to try, thinning agents are very fun. I'll put a link in the description below. And maybe also if you want to put your thoughts on that, on whether you like to use water or thinning agents, or whether you even see a difference. I'd love to hear your opinion and just see what difference it makes for me as well. So, or maybe you have a different one that I don't use. I generally use like a Vallejo brand, but I would love to know some other brands. I've been trying to branch out. Anyways, so here we have our finished product with the flesh wash. It's pretty nice looking. You let it dry and then you get your flayed one flesh. Now make sure you get it dry. In this next part, you're going to kind of see at some point, I didn't let certain parts dry because I got a little impatient, and it's going to muddy a little bit of my model, which is kind of annoying. And I'm going to try to fix it. I'll show you in the video, but yeah, just try to, if you want to avoid that altogether, leave it a little longer, 30 minutes, go walk away, watch something. But here I'm using the flayed one flesh, and I'm using a #1 brush from my set, but basically I'm just going to use more of a fine detail brush with a finer tip, because I'm trying to use this more of like a highlighting tool. I want this to be where I accentuate where all the light is hitting and give my dark warm recesses even more warmth to him and just look really weird, like he's kind of, you know, when you're sick you tend to have that pale sweaty look, but then all of your eyes and your like cuts and whatnot will be like warm and almost like pulsating infectious. That's what I'm trying to go for, where we have this sweaty skin that's not really, doesn't look right, but then has a sick appearance underneath that's gonna get you sick with like a really bad fever. And believe me, as much as I get sick throughout the year, I feel like I understand Nurgle pretty well. I just getting over this bad cold that I've had for a week, and I'm still getting over it. It's awful. If you get this cold, guys, I'm so sorry. Go lay down for a week. You're gonna need it. Now, just try to do this step before doing the armor and whatnot. I definitely hit a lot of the pieces on the sides, and I feel like just in general, you are going to start with the skin. Most of the time you start in and go out. For some reason, I had this model with a little bit of stuff already painted on it. I think I had it already set up for this video a long time ago, but like I said, I do apologize. I had some deaths in the family. I have one probably coming up, and my dog died. He was my boy Cloud. He's a 200-pound English Mastiff. I love him to death. And I'll post a picture of him on my Instagram if you want to see him. But he was a good boy. We all loved him and really hurt us all a lot. My family really enjoyed him, and so we ended up getting a new puppy. His name is Cloud Jr. He is also an English Mastiff. I know that may sound morbid, but we have a few other dogs, and it just seems to be helping a lot, especially with my father, who's 60 and not doing so well with it. That was his boy, and all you guys out there, I'm sure you girls too, got your cat or your dog you just can't live without. When he passes, it's just going to be so hard. That's what he's dealing with. But we got him, Cloud Jr. He's a little puppy. He's 8 weeks. I'll post a picture of him as well, and he's a light of our life right now, and he's helping out. Anyway, sorry about that. I know that was a bit of a rant, but I just wanted to let you guys know what we were dealing with for the last couple weeks and why I've been gone. Well, I'm back. I'm going to be painting a lot. I got 12 weeks planned out, so you are nothing to worry about anymore. I'm so sorry. But here, our next step, we're pretty much all done, is the crusted sore. Now, you don't have to worry about drying too much. Here, you're just going to find all the little open sores on Nurgle. There's usually like open blemishes, open wounds, and whatnot. You're just going to basically try to coat the whole thing and maybe even a little bit of the outside edge with crusted sore. And that's going to give it a more dried blood appearance, and that makes it easier. You just use 2 different paints and you got it done. You could add a little bit of a bluish or a purple into some areas where you want it to be bruised. I was thinking about that while I was editing, and that would be fun too. But otherwise, this is probably just as easy. And especially if you're doing my neon green armor, generally I try to contrast the neon green armor with this more like flattish but gross looking infected flesh that doesn't have as much going on, because your eyes being more concentrated towards the armor, our neon glow armor, which I'll show you at the end what my guys look like. I'm gonna have them on set for you, and they look pretty great. I love how cyberpunk they look. I always like to put that as the music behind them, but it's fun and I think you'll enjoy it. But here you go, the crusted sore is all done, and now we're gonna move on to the blood for the blood god. I love this new technical that they made. I don't think it's new anymore, but new for me. It's pretty cool. I just love putting this everywhere. Just like this nice deep red that looks very much like wet blood. I love it. So here you're just putting this inside of all the areas you want it to be open, extra bloody, or dribbly. And yeah, it's pretty easy. You're just going to put this down and let it dry, and then you're pretty much all done with the infected flesh. And I just want to say thank you guys for coming in and spending your time with me again this week. I know it's been a while, and I'm going to be catching up. The next video is going to be on my color shifting bug shells for the fly riders, and I hope you'll enjoy that. You only need 2 primers, and then you're pretty much set. You just have the color shifting color you want. So here are the boys. They are in town. They went to LVO and they kicked some major booty still. They actually killed off a whole bunch of Slaves of Darkness and Stormcast with only taking 1 wound because of how I had them buffed. But thank you so much for coming in, and I hope you had a good time, and I hope we helped you break that painter's block.